We began with something that is stimulus response, which meant that media is the all-powerful driver of change. Then we moved into another model, which is two-step flow, which altogether negated initially the idea of media's influence, but rather gave more credence to interpersonal relations and human contacts, which was later modified, as we know, to bring in the importance of news sources or mass media in the process of what we call mass communication. The last part of it consists of a few components. One of this is Roger and Shoemaker's Innovation Diffusion Model. As I stated earlier, this is a very important model because this is considered to be the mother of development support communication. The very reason why we are clubbing these three together is that they look at the role of media and the contact between the media and audience, and the role of individuals or groups in referring to that connection. Like how do human processes in everyday life affect the reception of news, and how influential news could be. Like one thing is clear, which is I'm quoting the last one, which is of these topics, where the very nature of news and journalism is defined that news is never an organized process, in the sense that the messages are not organized, like they are not purposeful. You remember the earlier idea of having purposeful messages. In news, it's not purposeful. Mass media messages are not purposeful. Instead of educators or learning providers, journalists or newsmakers are people who are known as information brokers. The participation of audience in this news process is voluntary. Like nobody could force anybody to watch a television program or read a newspaper or whatever, or listen to a radio program. And keeping in view, it means that they can just switch off anytime. So that's why newsmakers are always interested in understanding those processes and knowing how does it work. The diffusion of innovation one is a bigger model, which deals with any new ideas and their spread within a human society, like national development, for example. Since it was in early agricultural research, so we always stick to we always try to find some solutions out of, or examples out of agriculture. Like this process had basically three aspects. Like this model, it says that there are always antecedents to a communication, like a mass media message. There is an existing frame, like there is an existing environment within which news or any information that are intended for behavioral change reaches people, and those people, then there is this news process, and then there are consequences. So news are organized, like information is organized in a way that people should accept it and adopt certain new ideas. But information sent in this manner lands within audiences who have different preferences. One of those preferences could be their cultural context, how their financial situation, and how would they adopt newer ideas, how deviant are they from their cultural context. These are normally profiles of richer people, well educated, who will adopt newer ideas. So what we do is that it's a persuasion model, which gives you information through which your attention is sought to make a decision for a specific product. It could be a car, it could be a tractor, it could be a new seed, it could be a line of clothes, whatever. And then we have people who accept that immediately. These are the ones who we know as innovators. And then there are early adopters, who are people who might follow the new people and say with more money or with more insight into future, and they'll say, okay, let's do it. And then there'll be others who are kind of normal adopters, that if something is in vogue, then they accept it. And then there are late adopters who, because of any reason, because of their attitude or because of their financial incapacity to invest into such things, might not go for that. And there are others who are so happy with the way things are that they are considered laggards. And these are the people who are supposed to be rejecting this information, but in the communication processes we don't let them go. We just continue in the hope that they will also adopt an innovation at some point in their lives, or not in their lives, but somewhere down the road when we still have considered beneficial. The second of these models is diffusion innovation. Let me keep the track of time. That's good. So the news diffusion model is a simple model. Like it says, how do news reach people and how do people accept it? What kind of people, what kind of news is accepted by certain people? It has a normal curve which says that every news is first new and people don't know about it, and then it's an S curve, which means that, as you can see in the diagram, that then interest rises, that then it ebbs down. For some people, their interest rises earlier, for some later, and for some it's different. But still, this is the normal curve. This is the way the S shape rise in information importance. So this is how news diffuse amongst the people. The J curve, as they say, is a bit more specific. Like the J curve says that we categorize information into different categories. And these are three basic categories. The first one is the one where there is a news in which a specific group of people might be interested. And the second one is, which is general news. Like it's everyday routine news. And the third one is dramatic news, like disasters. The first kind of news is, for example, if there is a travel restriction and the airports are closed. So normally people who are traveling or who expect anybody to come to their to visit them will be interested in that news. So they will be the first adopter, and from them the news will move into other people's frames of reference. So there is a lot of interpersonal interaction that is needed. The second one is kind of like lockdown in Pakistan. So this is everybody knows about that, and so you don't need to ask anybody. You might be asking anybody, but it's kind of known information. And the third one is kind of what we call disasters. For example, the moment we knew that Pakistan was in danger, that Pakistan might face the same consequences as Iran, or God forbid Italy, or like what is happening in the US. For example, for today, I don't want to say that, but still, today Pakistan had the biggest number of deaths in the 24 hours. Like this is kind of a very disastrous information. Now we all will see whether the next day brings something good or not. Like this happened in India also a couple of days earlier. And so these are kind of disasters, like earthquakes, for example. So in earthquake, basically the role of media is immense. Media is the main source of information. So this is how the J curve categorizes news diffusion. Then we move into the news comprehension and processing thematics. Like as I said in the beginning, this model clarifies a few things. Like this model first and foremost accepts that newsmakers are information brokers. They are not educators. News is not a purposeful communication process. Like what happens, we report. We don't invent happenings. If you do that, that's wrong. and then there is this attention is voluntary, like people attend to news without any responsibility, or like without any obligation. Like if somebody doesn't watch news, you can't punish them for that they are not informed. They'll say, we don't watch it, and they can switch off anytime, so they can just move, they can say, okay, no more news. So you know that, and then you know that the possibility of behavioral change or a learning process through this is very remote, but still we would like to know what influence does our work have on the audience that are being informed by us. Because on the one hand we are information brokers, but on the other hand we think that information is power. We are informing people to give them more control over their lives, over the processes in their lives. So we think that whatever we are doing is important. So we have to know how it works. And there are these two models that we like, the transmission model of news learning, and then there is this other one, processing the news, a reception model. It's basically one model kind of in two different ways. If you look to the transmission model, it has 6 different stages. The first to second is from display to exposure. From display to exposure means that the moment news is sent, somebody receives that, and that process, that stage where news is broadcast and it reaches us, for example, as an audience, is the first stage. And it has kind of an audience context, and it also has a sender-receiver context. Like the sender thinks that this is the perfect information. This is something that is needed, and the receiver, we don't know about the receiver. We will know about the receiver at the last stage, whether the receiver considered it as important as we thought it is. Now, and we have it in the diagram. So, news item display, probability of news exposure, like whether the message is well sent, whether the audience is there, and then the second part is actual exposure. So then there's the processing part. Like if I see a news item, whether I'm going to process it, whether I'm going to take it into my mind, so whether there is a possibility that I'll just listen to it and try to understand what it is. And the third part is, we are done with the display and exposure part, and then the third part is processing. The fourth part is comprehension. So comprehension means giving meaning to that information. When I get information, what does it make? What do I make of it? How do I feel after getting that information? Like, it's a good news, is it a bad news? Is it something that I would like to know about? Is it something that I would like to retain? Is there, like for example, if somebody says that, like we get the information about stock exchange loss, like it's going down or up, but most of us really don't understand what it means basically, because we are not investing in stocks. So somebody has to really pull us to them, telling that we will get poor because of the stock dip down. But still we don't retain. How many amongst us remember where was stock kind of last month? Although we might be remembering the prices of items that went up or down because of the top stocks, but actually this business information is not retained. Like that's the point. Like whether we can recall it, that's the fifth stage. That whether after a month you really remember that news, and if you remember it, the last one is basically learning, whether we learn something from it. Like we learn from soaring prices that prices never go down in Pakistan. Like that's what we know. Like in my lifetime, I've never seen prices going back to normal. Like even if oil prices go up, you have to pay more for the stuff you buy. But oil prices go down, you still are paying more. So that's my learning out of financial news, but not about whether stock went up or down. I really don't remember. So we have our own frames. And that's the last model. Yeah, we are back with it. So processing the news, and this is the last one. Like the last one is an extension of the second last one. Like it begins with entry and exit, whether you enter into an information process and whether you exit it by receiving a new frame. Now here there is another idea. This is the framing theory in place, which is based on the ideas of Erwin Goffman, and we have news categories. If you see, like there are crime, there is sports, there is entertainment, there is politics, there is diplomacy, and you look at news within those different frames. There are other frames also, like there are national frames, there are global frames. Like COVID-19 has a global frame. Like Pakistan-India rivalry or skirmishes have an international but a limited international frame. Political government change in Pakistan is a national frame. Like something happening in Lahore has a local frame. So these are also different frames within which we understand news. Now the point here is that when you enter into an information process, you get news and you receive that, whether you have a frame to identify with that, whether you would like to attend to it and comprehend it. Like sports, for example, like everybody is interested in sports. So most of the sports news are something that you have a frame for them. And you'll see, or you might not have a frame for them. So these are the two layers going on. But you can get, like, for example, if there is tennis news, you don't have a frame for it, I don't have it. So you say, okay, but there are certain celebrities, like tennis players, that so okay, we watch it for that player. We might be interested in that. So you borrow a frame and you put that frame to initiate interest into that. But on the other hand, if you have a frame for certain, like for cricket you have a frame, so you say, okay, let's learn from that, and the process goes on, and the process is that it depends upon motivation. So motivation is based on your existing reference and your interest. So you are motivated to learn more, and then you develop a frame for it, and you exit of the information with a new frame, or within that frame your information is enriched, like sports, like politics, like international relations, environment, health, whatever. On the other hand, you invent frames, like you connect your dots with something else, like in the information, like if I have to say that somehow, that things in Pakistan are not bad right now. Like these are bad, but not that bad. But how would you understand the enormity of situation, the enormity of the challenge that Pakistan is confronted with? We borrow frames from the US, for example, what is happening in New York right now, and we say, this could happen to us, God forbid. And then we say, okay, let's learn something for it. And at the end we exit with a frame in which there is this information that will caution us and also help us to take necessary precautions. So this is how it's done. Or we might not heed to it at all. We might think that we have higher immunities or whatever we think we have. So all these models brought together do this thing. So they tell us the journey from the all influential news, from where news is something that is seen within the context, and we understand that context. Thank you.